And I'm really happy today to bring my guest, Mary Gardner, on. She's going to talk about that perfect signature speech that everybody should have. You know, I have had clients that have come that were finding all of their business on the stage. They were selling from the stage. They were speakers and they were launching a book. And they were all worried about how they were going to pivot in this new normal. And Mary's going to talk to us about how we can do that. As you know, the social selling agency helps clients get visible, find leads, and increase sales. And this is part of getting visible in front of your target market. So before I bring Mary on, I'm going to read to you her bio so you know and you get excited about who she is. So I love that she has here something about Mary. I used to live in Miami when that movie came out. So Mary Gardner is the founder and CEO of the Inspirational Speakers Academy and Mary Gardner Communications LLC based in Winter Park, Florida, which is just outside of Orlando. You don't have to go to all the crazy part with all those Disney characters driving around on the freeway, making it crazy. So her motto is, we inspire the inspiring. Mary has been coaching executive athletes and celebrities and leaders for many, many years. So we can point you to how to find Mary, and I'm going to bring her on now to the show. Hi, and welcome.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. Good to see you again.
Yes.
Thanks for having me today.
Great. So I see that we have some other people joining us. So I think they clicked the link to come on the live show instead of the areas. I might have sent you the wrong one, but Marlena and Eileen, we're not going to bring you on the show unless you just want to say hi to people. They wouldn't be ready to be in front of 8,000, 20 or 30,000 people, but just so that we know we see you there, you can chat with us through Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn Live or Twitter Live. We're streaming live on all of those platforms. So Mary, tell me, where are you coming live from today?
I am in Florida, Winter Park, Florida. You said it right. We're right outside of Orlando, just a few minutes. And Winter Park is a quaint little town that's got the brick streets, and we're centered in on 7 or 8 lakes here in Winter Park. But we're having a really chilly couple of days. So it's
I heard Florida's like freezing, right?
Yep. We're having weather. And I just got back from out west. I was in Utah, Idaho, and Wyoming. And I think I brought it back because it was snowy out there and frigid. So, but glad to be back in Florida as usual.
Yes. So I started my selling career in Winter Park, Florida. I relocated from Orange County, California to Orange County, Florida, and landed in Winter Park. So that was actually my first real big girl job.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Most people, they only know it from Rollins College, but so you and we probably crossed paths at some point.
Maybe back in the gosh, that was so long ago, 30 years ago. So we won't even go there.
Yeah.
So tell me, what do you do? What business problems do you solve? I know we're going to talk about communications, which is so important.
Yeah.
You've done some awesome things. I'm so happy to get you in front of the audience.
Thank
you. Tell me, where is your niche? What do you spend most of your time doing? Are you coaching? Are you consulting? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I have been coaching since really the inception of coaching. It was in the late 90s. I started with Coach University when they were brand new. And opened one of the first coach training companies on the East Coast in person. So we were the third one in the world. So I've been coaching individuals in everything, life coaching, but mostly speech coaching since the late 90s. My background before that, I have been a celebrity lecture agent at one of the country's largest speaker bureaus, and just have found through my years, I've done a lot of sales, also business development and strategy, business strategy, love all that, but just found my home, especially with speakers. And I always feel like if I have a gift, one gift is that God allows me to see people at their highest level. And so I'm able to help people get to the place in their life where they feel totally confident, excited, and passionate about their purpose to be able to bring it to as many people on stage as possible. So that's really my passion. So I work with people right now on Keynote and getting their message out as much as we can.
How long does it take for someone so I see that you work a lot with celebrities and people that
Mhm.
already have their
Mhm.
platform, meaning their brand, right?
Mhm.
Their brand identified. But I wouldn't imagine that a celebrity necessarily has a keynote ready,
Right. No,
right?
absolutely
So
not.
so from start to finish, what does that timeline look like for people to get a really solid keynote ready?
Well, I remember one time I was with an athlete who I just happened to run into, and he was going on stage in 5 minutes. And I did a quick little, here's your presentation. And I basically just asked him a couple of questions and I wrote down an outline that quick. So if you're squished on time, it doesn't have to be a long thing. But the business people that I work with, which most of them are stars in their own little niche. Maybe they're
Mhm.
are just in their company in a sales capacity, but most of the people I work with are influencers in a way, and it does actually take a couple of months to get it right.
Okay.
When I've worked with people, because it's the nuances. When you're at a level of real success already, and you know who you are, and you know what your content is, it's the little tiny, touch of that, maybe, your hand or the tilt of your head or an extra pause or adding an extra line that's going to really draw emotion out of people. And so
Mhm.
at that level, it's the tiny little things that make the biggest difference. So that can take some time.
I bet. And I just like anything, right? To get better, you need
Mhm.
to realize that having someone that's an expert in that field to give you those
Yeah.
finesses that you might not have even thought about. I hear my voice and the intonation going up, and so just being in groups and other people that I talk to, those are things that I didn't even recognize. That when you're a speaker and you're on the stage, don't
Mhm.
end all your sentences in the upward. You
Yeah,
know,
right.
I didn't even think about it. That's how I speak. So there's just things you don't even think about. You don't know what you don't know. So
Oh,
hire a professional.
absolutely. I'll tell you one really common right now that I can tell that a person has not had coaching, and you'll hear it all the time, especially with podcasters. And they say this, right? Well, I had this little thing that happened, right? And then they say the word right like 50 times
Okay.
in 5 minutes.
I'm going to put a sticky note up now that says, don't
Oh,
say right.
it's a habit. Well, I know they're all A, listening to other podcasts, and B, they've not been coached. And so it's the same thing as when any of us say, because it's a non-word in today's society. Everybody says it. It's just a place to pause, to start to think, but it's a habit that's redundant and overdone, and it's annoying. So yeah,
Yeah.
those are the kind of things that I'll pick up on people. And then I'll tell them to put a little rubber band on their arm and slap them and punish themselves if they do it.
No ums, no and so's. Yes. I with some of my clients, I do load their speech up into artificial intelligence so that
Oh.
I can transcribe it and I can show them how many times they said
Mhm.
it, just so that they see and they're aware of how
Mhm.
they speak, and I can see their pattern. And but I'm not a speech coach. I just am saying, hey, I'm trying to optimize this content for
Right.
SEO, and I don't think and so are words we want to rank for.
That's really great. What a great technique that you've got. That's phenomenal. And the other thing I just tell people, please watch yourself on tape. And I just, before I got on today, because I've been on vacation and then I had a little flu, so I haven't done a speech in a while, a couple of weeks at least. I haven't been even on live with my clients, and I noticed myself saying because it's just typical. So I'll try to watch that on our podcast today.
Okay, so you correct me, I'll correct you.
Okay.
Let's get it done. All right, so I'm going to share my screen today because Mary has done a beautiful job. As you know, if you're watching my show for the first time, I bring long format. The style of the show is long format because I want you to see the subject matter experts that I bring on the show and see them in their element. I want them to deliver their subject matter expertise. I want them to deliver a teachable moment that you, the B2B entrepreneur, can take and implement immediately in your business. And that's what Mary's going to do through the slideshow today. And we can make some of these slides available, yes, through a handout or.
Absolutely. I'm happy
Okay.
to anyone afterwards for sure.
Okay, so is this the first slide? I just want to make
No,
sure.
that's all the little TV shows that I've been on.
She's so famous. Okay, so here we go. The title of the speech, right?
Yeah, I said that it's really uncovering. It's uncovering your dynamic signature keynote presentation. And the reason why I believe it's uncovering is the majority of people that I work with are business professionals, and they have so much content. And so when we're looking at when I'm starting to work with a person, I do a 3-hour dump. So we talk for literally 2 sessions for an hour and a half at a time where I interview them. And so today what we're going to do is I'm going to help people just uncover some of the questions that I ask. And what ends up happening when I start to hear a story, I normally will be like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. And I'll press a little bit harder. So today we're not going to be able to do that, but I'll at least show you how we start the process.
Okay.
And then along the way, I would also, as you just mentioned, Kathryn, one of the things that I really think is so important, and since you and I have been talking, I'm like, you're adorable. You have got the most precious personality. You're totally authentic. You're so much fun. And that's what I think people have to bring out of their personality, because so many of us now are on video. And when you're on stage, and because all of us are experts, we do have a blink factor, which means that we're watching facial expressions. We can determine those microfacial expressions, whether a person is uncomfortable, whether they're not. And so it's a lot of practice to be able to get to a place where you are dynamic. But that's the kind of thing too, that as we weave in, I'm talking about content, but I'd also like to weave in personality traits. So if any of that comes up, please don't hesitate to jump in.
Okay. And everybody, don't forget, please, if you have any chat, comments, questions, put them in the comment section. I can see them. We'll bring them on air, and we'll get Mary to answer them as she's going through her presentation.
Awesome. Great. So one of the things, this is just pretty much an overview, is we're going to look at your brand identity, your unique selling proposition, creating a vision for your work, your vision, your mission, and purpose statements. And then the reason why it's so important I always tell my clients, if you build it, they will come. So a lot of people know they have a keynote, just like so many people know they have a book inside them. But why don't they do it? Because they're overwhelmed. There's too much information. They don't know where to start. They're afraid that they're not different from anyone. And so really, when working with a coach, or if you have somebody to listen to all of your stories, and let's face it, some of them aren't going to be exciting enough to get in your book or on your speech, but still being able to hear yourself tell it, you'll be able to discount that one, pull in the good ones. So that's what we're going to do today, is kind of help you uncover who you are.
Okay. Move and rapid fire. So I'm going to add to that. If you build it, they will come. If you hire a good marketing agency, they'll really line up and around the block. Okay.
I love it. Absolutely.
Because I've met so many awesome people that have about 4 or 5 books, and they're not marketing them, right? They're just taking up shelf. So, all right.
That's right. So your brand really is a combination of your own personal story plus your experience and over the expectation. And really that's the expectation that you want for your people. So that's outcome. That's what you've been able to overcome and your strategy to get there. And that equals your brand.
Okay. Story plus experience over expectation. Oops. Okay.
So when you're starting to look at your signature keynote speech, in today's world, it used to be, when I was a celebrity lecture agent, I worked at a place called Kepler Speakers, and I was a college agent. It used to be that it was just traditional people that were doing speaking, and they were New York Times bestsellers. They were anchor people. They were athletes. Today, everybody has an ability to tell a story if they're good, and like what you said, Kathryn, if they're good at marketing. So I put the online place first in terms of a demographic to start to sell. You're the expert here, but what I said is you need a sales funnel, maybe directing to a freebie, going to videos, capture emails, and then to start to sell to them. I use LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn for business to sell high-end ticket programs. And our method in online is really to reach out. I have an assistant. She makes appointments all day long with chief medical officers, CEOs, CTOs, and then we talk to them, we book an appointment, and we sell them our high tickets program. Another place to book, and this is big right now, corporate, audience, and association market. And what you're looking for are there is the meeting planners mostly. Meeting planners that are doing conferences. There's an organization, Meeting Planners International, that you can join. You can go to their virtual events or their events.
I'm going to type that in the notes here while you're talking. Okay.
You can start to meet meeting planners anywhere. You can find them also on LinkedIn. So if you want to start local and start to find out, maybe having some conversations, what are some of the problems that you're facing today in your company? If you're a sales expert, look at finding some vice president of sales. Do you bring in speakers? What kind of speakers do you have? Who did you have last time? So find out what the corporations are bringing in and get their names of the speakers that were there. Go to their websites. The other little tip there is follow speakers, and most speakers have a list of different places where they had spoken.
Yes.
You can start to then, oh, okay, Oracle does speakers like that. And if I'm similar to them, I'm going to market to them. So that's a really good way. There's also an organization called the National Speaker Association. Once you've made $25,000 to $30,000 as a professional speaker, you can join. And it's a great organization. They have conferences all year long regionally. And then in the summer, they have a national conference. It's a great place to meet other speakers that are in your, just thousands of speakers. That's where people congregate.
So I want to step back just a second, because I think, my background is in sales. And one thing that I've seen people doing right now on LinkedIn or other platforms is they're just sending out messages, right? They're not reaching out and setting the appointment to get on the phone, or they're not calling them. They just think that if they send enough messages and my calendar, somebody, just a CEO who's absolutely bored out of his mind, is just going to click and want to talk to the random person.
Delete. Right. Yeah. And really, when you're sending those messages, tweaking the message, the more defined you get with your own purpose, your own mission, your own vision for what you're doing and who you can help. And we're going to go through that. The more specific you can get, and those are going to target the right people. We certainly send out a lot of messages to the C-suite people. Not everybody gets on the phone with me. But when they do, I sell them almost every time. So you really have to find your niche and the right person that you can help. The last place where you could speak, I want to go back just to that really quick. Colleges and universities are another great place that do pay for speakers. You want to go to the student activity offices. They have a lot of different committees that can book you. So in the college market, there are months that celebrate different things, like Women's History Month is March, Black History Month is February, Environmental Month is April, Drug and Alcohol Awareness Month is October. So every single month is celebrated. So if you fit into that, that's a good place for you to be. Price-wise, anywhere from $2,500 up to $10,000. And really, the people that get booked most in colleges and universities are very, very liberal. So if you are as liberal as possible, they're going to book you. That's the best place for them. I was a college agent for a long time. I've seen it.
Tell us a little bit. What is a college agent? You said you were a celebrity speaker college agent. What does that mean exactly?
So in the industry of speakers, there are many bureaus, and a bureau is somebody that represents speakers non-exclusively. So if you look in your own local area, you would look up speaker bureau. Mm-hmm. But the majority of speaker agencies that have celebrity speakers on an exclusive basis that are big time celebrities are in New York, DC, New Jersey, some in California. Right. And so if you've got the big budget, you're going to start working with some of these big bureaus. There's a couple in the Midwest as well, and they represent speakers exclusively. But a celebrity agency does not only book celebrity speakers. What will start to happen is if you get good at speaking, and the agents start to hear about you, they're going to come after you. So you can market to the celebrity bureaus all you want, but if they're not hearing about you, they're not going to book you. So really just go to a local bureau and develop a relationship and a rapport. And what started happening to me, and this is something that is a great story for anybody, is it really truly is a relationship. So if you continue to keep in touch with your local bureau and say, hey, who are you booking these days? I'm doing a speech on sales. Here's the new topic. Now I'm doing doing one on closing. Now I'm doing one on how do you meet the customer and how do you entice them, whatever. If you continue to keep updated. I remember one time I saw a well-known senator at a book conference, and he came up to me and he said, "Hey, how come you guys aren't booking me?" And I said, "Well, Senator," I said, "what's going on with you? Do you have any new books? Do you have anything new going on?" He said, "That's your job." I said, "Senator, with all due respect, I have 600 speakers I have to keep up with. It's your job to let us know what's going on." So as a speaker,
back to that marketing, right? Market yourself.
Absolutely. And relationship. It really is. And then oftentimes, if in fact a speaker or a speaker bureau finds that, oh my gosh, they need somebody on closing. Who was that woman? Kathryn, I got somebody for you. That's how it happens.
Yes. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go.
All right. So one of the things that we talk about is, the hero journey. Everybody has probably heard that, is that all of us have had obstacles that have gone in before us. And the thing that it says, when did you suffer your greatest challenge in life? And I believe your mess becomes your message. But the thing I want to say about that is that not everybody wants to hear your mess if it doesn't apply to your topic. So you have to be specific about what you're talking about. We all have messes. Like if you look at health, we all want to lose weight. With children, we're all good parents and have kids. All of us have business issues. So
it's so interesting. I see that as I bring guests on.
Yeah.
I'm like, so tell me a little bit about yourself. And then they go on this tangent, this backstory. I'm not close. I can't kick them under the table and say, listen,
it's not relevant, people.
Our viewers went from 500 to 0.
Yeah. Right. You want to be relevant. And so when I'm dealing with an athlete, I got to tell you, they're the easiest people in the world to speak or to write a presentation, because they've been committed to one journey. The one journey has been a lot of overcoming obstacles. They've learned how to come back from debilitating injuries and from teammates that weren't good. So a lot of the messages in an athlete's journey is very similar to business. But in the business world, there are thousands and thousands of topics. And so one of the things that I like to tell people is start to journal. Look at all those challenges you've gone through in business. And when it becomes personal, it's more about life balance, dealing with relationships, and a lot of relationships work, we still have that. So anyway, that the mess becomes your message. Look at those things you've overcome. Then one of the questions, tell a time when you didn't think you were going to be able to make it and how you did it. And then the hardest part is really getting structure around that. What were the 3 steps you did? Maybe the 5 steps. Don't go into 50 steps. That's too overwhelming. But tell a time of when you were able to turn things around and how you did it. So maybe that incorporates mindset, goal setting. So maybe there were several different issues.
Sounds almost like a job interview too, right?
That's why we get the big bucks, right?
Yes.
That's right. So the next question, tell a time when you were down on your luck and lost all your sense of hope for your future, and be in the moment. And so this is really about storytelling. And when I have one of the good examples that I use, one of the clients that I worked with was Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly is the astronaut who married to Gabby Giffords, who just won the Senate in Arizona. And when he was telling stories originally, before we worked together, it was a lot about being an airline, a fighter pilot and an astronaut. I'm like, yawn. All people want to hear about is Gabby. How much do you love Gabby Giffords? So we recreated this presentation. And one of the most dramatic moments they ever had was when CNN announced on live that Gabby Giffords was dead. And so the thing that Mark had said was he was on a plane from Houston to Arizona, and he went into the bathroom when they announced it. And when he came out, he said it was bad. And I said, what do you mean it was bad? How'd you feel? What'd you look? What'd you sound like? And so what he added to that little story was that when his daughter said this, is that, Dad, when you came out of the bathroom, it looked like your whole body was crying. And so adding that little tiny thing where he had lost all hope, and then just sharing how he felt, made the audience quiver, like, oh
yeah, goosebumps just thinking about it, right?
Yes, yeah. And so it's those little things, that loss of hope for your future, and then how you reacted and how you felt in the moment as if it was happening in the moment. All right. So the next one is, when did people think that you didn't have it in you to make a difference in your life? And did they count you out? And then tell the story. And so I think that's really about allowing people to see you at a vulnerable place. And so most of people that are on stage are there because they're dynamic. They're there because they're a story and they have confidence. But one of the most beautiful things is to see people when they admit, this was really hard for me, and let me tell you how I felt and what I was going through. And here's what other people said about me. They kicked me to the curb. And so you have compassion for the speaker at that point. So those are a couple stories that people can write down and pull out of themselves.
Yes, great ones. Flip it.
Okay, flip it. It's about your successes. So we like to hear both. What I love when I'm taking a speaker on a journey of finding their keynote is that we're looking for the highs and lows. We don't ever want to be boring. We want to take people up and down and up and down. So I like to make sure everybody is feeling emotion, lots of emotion. So sadness, laughter, crying, hysterical. I take people back to when they were 13 years old, hanging out with their cousins, being stupid. We even like to have that personality on stage. So, but the other thing is that we want to establish credibility. So tell a time where you wowed people. That's a good story. What has been your greatest success to date, and how did you get there? Was it an overnight success? And most people, as we know, are not overnight successes.
And that will be interesting, right? Because what I might find successful, what you might find successful, what the corporation we're working for might find successful, it has to be relevant to the audience that you're speaking to, right?
Absolutely.
You that from them. Great.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'll mention that some of those successes are aha moments. They're not these astronomical big successes that, oh my gosh, we made $3 million in a minute. But sometimes they were lessons of how you brought a team together. And maybe it was that you went on a journey together and stayed up all night. And it was through those minute by minute conversations that took place that the division was healed and a relationship was built. And so that those tiny little things can be really great stories as well. All right. So this is a tip at the very bottom. It looks like it's covered up on my screen, but here's something. This is what I did when I told you earlier, when I gave a speaker 5 minutes and I wrote his presentation in literally 5 minutes. Here's what I did. I took the word success. You're speaking about success. Give me 5 words that you resonate with when you think of success. So let's say maybe overcoming a challenge. Maybe it's about persistence. Maybe it's about commitment. So you pick 5 words. Those become your outline. And now underneath each one of those words, under the word success, you will write a story and then maybe another story. So maybe 2 stories and maybe a stat. So now you have 10 different stories or even 20 different stories underneath 5 topics. And then in addition to almost, you have your whole outline, and then you do a personal story to introduce. So when you come out on stage, you pause and you start. And you can ask a rhetorical question to engage the audience, and then you give a personal story. And that personal story should be something really amazing that people are going to hang on to their every bit.
Yes.
Every bit. And then at the end, you want to leave them with a challenge. So that is a really great tip for a quick keynote, is those 5 words. And then you add anecdotes, metaphors, quotes in between. But it's a quick way to do a really great outline.
If you're pitch hitting, right? If you have to come up with something really quick. So I hope you guys can see that. And like I said, we'll have the slides. So
yes,
my nameplate's in the way there.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. So this is about delving a little deeper. I'm glad I have on my glasses today. So.
I have it on 2 screens. So if you guys see me looking over here, it's because I have it on 2 screens. I can see it. I can read the last one for you.
Yeah. All right. You might have to, but I think I can see it right now. All right. So one of the things that I like to say, give it to me from your gut. And what do you think when you think you are best known for? And then do a brainstorm to get content. So I love to ask people extemporaneous questions. So if you're working with someone else, let them get into that gut matter. And you probably in sales know when you ask somebody, hey, what's your gut? what's your gut feeling? That goes right for the heart of the matter, and people like spill it out. So that's a really good question to ask. All right. Another one is, what do my friends say about me? Maybe they say they're inspirational, positive, always evolving. These are things that I think really kind of build the framework of your keynote. And so these were words I just put down there for me.
These are good. These are good for branding. These are good for messaging. These are things. So, the art of inspired selling, that word inspired came from people messaging me that said, you inspire me. You inspired me to do this. You inspired me to do that. So I took that word from the feedback of people and put it into the title. So it's really good to understand what friends say about me, good or bad. Right?
Yes, absolutely. And this kind of couches the overall feeling. So when you're looking for what is the intention of what you want to do for your audience, these are words that can resonate with you as you're building your presentation. So I wrote inspiring, positive, always evolving. And then what do my clients say about me? That I have great ideas, that I have wisdom, positivity. And so we want to make sure that you have all that in your presentation. What do my former clients say about me? Lots of aha moments. And then who are the people that inspire me? And so what I love about that, of who are the people that inspire me, because one of the things that there's an ex-president that just came out with a book, and a lot of people are kind of joking that he's all about me, 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 me. We don't want to be all me, 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 me on stage. We really want to be able to tell other stories as well of inspiring things that we saw or know about. And then even to round out your keynote, to sound intelligent, go to authorities, go to those credible sources that are good statistics. And so, because when you're persuading somebody, it's left brain and right brain. It's people that justify on facts and they buy off of emotion. And so being able to share that there are great statistics, or there was a study done by Harvard Business Review and they studied 50,000 leaders, and out of those 50,000 leaders, the top 1,000 were given one credible thing that everybody loved, and that was inspiring. But when you ask inspiring, people don't know what that means. So stuff like that. So you have studies that you go back to.
And that just hits on the different personas, the different people too. So if you're including the facts, I mean, you're just speaking for the entire audience, right? It's just like when you're writing a website and you have to have facts on there because you're appealing to all the different types of people that are going to be reading your information.
And I want to throw this in there because a lot of the people that I work with that I specialize in are left brain introverts. And left brain introverts are very fact driven, very data driven, very logical. And so they're always telling the facts. And so where I'm able to come in, and this is something that is good if you are a left brain person, work with a creative person that can create metaphors and stories or ask you some personal things to round out your presentation. Because I've seen so many speakers, I always know they didn't really practice because they're just giving up and giving content and what they know. And so that to me as a speech coach drives me a little bonkers. And I go up to them afterwards, here's my card. I would love to talk to you about your presentation. It could be so fun. So anyway.
And as a left brainer, they're like, who is this person, right?
They don't like it. But anyway.
So the bottom one that you can't see, you guys, from my screen, I got to click it. It says, what are the stories? So and then the example is Mark Kelly pushing him harder to share. Mark Schultz, what's the next thing? Peggy Fleming, figure 8.
All right, so let me give you a couple of stories. I told the story about Mark Kelly, the astronaut. Mark Schultz has a story. Mark Schultz is the guy, he and his brother both won. They were gold medal wrestlers, and the movie Foxcatcher, starring Steve Carell. This is a couple of years ago. So I worked with Mark, and Mark, when he was in high school, it was a wrestler, and he was originally a gymnast and then became a wrestler. And in order to catch up with his brother, who was a gold medalist at the time, he started keeping a book. And the book was all of the different moves that you could make in wrestling. And then on the opposite side of the page were all of the counter moves that could beat that move. And one of the people that he studied intermittently was an Indian monk. And the thing that he learned from the Indian monk was, what is the next one thing that you need to do? In order to combat fear, you look at what is the very next thing thing. So when Mark was in the state championship up against a guy from California, they were stalling, which means they were both in the same position, couldn't move. They were both exhausted. Mark had that memory that came from the Indian monk. What is the next one thing that you need to do? And he said, the next one thing I need to do is just throw the guy up in the air. Of course, he did it. He won. He ended up getting a scholarship, then going to the Olympics. So it was a great momentous moment in his life. That was a really good story that Mark has told. And I've told that on stage as well. Another story is that I worked with Peggy Fleming, who she's told me I could tell this story. She's a beautiful, amazing woman. She was a gold medalist back in the 60s or 70s, ice skater.
And isn't that sad? I'm thinking, wait, she has to explain who Peggy Fleming is? And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, she in our generation was so well known, but she's still out there. She still works for ABC on TV. But one of the things that Peggy had an issue with was being perfect. And her agents came to me and said, can you please work with her? She's reading the script. So when I started working with her, I said, why are you reading the script? She said, well, I want to be perfect. I want to be perfect for everybody. I said, where'd you get the idea that you have to be perfect? Nobody wants perfect. Perfect is perfectly boring. And she said, well, when I was a kid and I had to learn on the ice skate, and we did figure eights. And if we went out of the line at all, I got points marked off. I was like, good news, Peggy. You don't have to be perfect anymore. As if people want to know what makes you laugh and what makes you cry and really be that authentic person. And so a couple of years ago.
So interesting, right?
A couple of years ago, I saw her at a Disney resort. I went up to her. I hadn't seen her in years. I was like, Peggy, Mary Gardner, how are you? She goes, you changed my life. You changed my life. And so after that, she didn't have to be perfect anymore. She could just be herself. And so, but that one story is so remarkable because there are a lot of people that think, oh my gosh, I have to be perfect if I walk out on stage. And so not true. One of my best stories that I have loved was that I saw Carrot Top on stage. Carrot Top lives here in Winter Park, so I know him, and I've known him for years because I used to book him as a speaker. But when I saw him when he was first starting out, do you know who Carrot Top is, the comedian?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
okay,
But explain it just in case.
Right?
I need to go over here and try to find a picture of him, but go ahead.
Okay, well, he has a show out in Vegas.
I'm moving around, you guys. Don't pay attention to me.
Oh, no worries. He's got the big red hair. He did AT&T or Verizon like commercials on TV for a long time. He has a show out in Vegas that's all about these odd things that he makes up, these inventions that he thinks are pretty cool. And so he's just a wacko comedian, hysterical, funny, amazing guy. But one time I saw him on stage and he was doing a college audience and he stopped in the middle of his presentation and he said, where was I? Oh my gosh, you got, what? Where was I? And they were like, oh, you were talking about, yeah. Okay, that's right. And I realized, oh my gosh, that is amazing. He totally flubbed up. He forgot where he was. And he just said to the audience, guys, hey, help me out. It's a human moment. And I have never forgotten it. It was brilliant. So, yeah.
So nobody's commenting here about Carrot Top. Carrot Top, are you watching our show?
Call him Scott. Maybe he'll answer.
Scott.
That's his name.
Unique selling proposition. So we at the Social Selling Agency, we work with some of our clients to work on this, right?
Okay.
And so we went through their messaging. So I'm really happy that you have it here to talk about.
Good. So we can do this slide together. Yeah. So when I look at obviously the overall theme of this and the intention is we want to make sure that you have a unique identity from everybody else. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I'm so cautious of, and I watch people so well, one time I remember that Katie Couric, when Oprah was so big, I saw Katie Couric do this with her hands and they were like all bent up. And I'm like, that is Oprah. That's how Oprah does it. And I could tell that Katie Couric was copying Oprah for doing this. And then the other thing is that I have a friend who is a TV anchor and she was wearing glasses like this. She was the first TV anchor. And I saw Katie Couric again starting to wear these glasses. I'm like, Katie, be yourself, girl. Come on. So anyway, and I'm a Katie Couric fan. So I can
kind of, so am I.
Yeah. She was good.
She's from Florida.
Oh, is she? I didn't even know that. I thought she was from Virginia. Well, anyway, so So I want to make sure that people are unique, and that's why the stories are our own stories are so important. But even our personality and our mannerisms, like the one that I said earlier, the right. All right. So what are things that majority of people in my industry all have? And so that might be something that you want to stay away from, or maybe gravitate towards. What are the services that you offer that other people don't? And so, like for me, I work with left brain introverts, and I don't know a lot of people that do that, and the C-suite. What experiences do you have that your competitors don't have? And so that's where your credibility comes into play. And of course, on websites and things like that, we all have the ability to just throw up whatever our stuff. And LinkedIn profile too. I would love to talk about the LinkedIn profile as well, but we'll hold that for right now. What results have you produced that other people haven't? So for instance, with me, I have written speeches that one speech they've made millions of dollars on. So I can say that I create $1 million speakers or multi-million dollar speakers. And so a lot of speech coaches can't say that. What makes you stand out from the crowd? And maybe that's your background. Maybe that's your personality. Maybe that's your beautiful branding from the Kathryn Evans Nuance Selling Agency. And then write one sentence that defines your USP. Yeah. Yes. So ours, and Mars is similar to the mission purpose is that we inspire the inspiring. So we like working with influencers is in ours. How about you? What are your thoughts on this page?
No, it's great. So we take them through, we actually have them do their presentation to us so that we can see if what they're saying, we look for them to light up. So if they're just going through boring slides and not talking, and then they get over on a topic and you can tell that they weren't looking at their speaker notes or whatever, and they're on fire, then we're like, okay, that's what's going to set you apart from the crowd. All this other stuff that you just spent 20 slides on, we're snore bore. Let's pivot over to part and you lit up. Like, this is what is going to differentiate you. This is what we're going to connect with. So we haven't so much. We work with them more on their unique selling proposition of that.
Yeah, I love that
secret sauce, that the passion that shows, and then the branding that goes with it. So
absolutely, that's really brilliant. Absolutely.
Okay, so what do we have here
next? The mystery slide. Now write it. Okay. So writing it down. And this is one thing, a lot of the people that I work with, they speak a lot. So they are extemporaneous and they know the topic and they'll go in and they'll take a couple of notes. In my experience, if you want to do really well at the speaking industry, is to write your speech and practice it. So as I told you, it takes a couple of months to really develop one that's phenomenal, because we look at videos and we watch for those little lit up type things and change words and things like that. So when I ask people, what's your intention for the speech? Do you want to inspire? Do you want to educate? Do you want to sell? So then you write the outline and fill it in as you go with these stories, as you know your topic. So again, with those 5 subjects that we did earlier, those takeaway nuggets. So one of the things that when you're branding your presentation, you may have those 5 subjects and maybe you have a speech or a topic, but you want to be able to have a takeaway, a nugget that people can remember. And the stat is that when you're giving a presentation, people will remember maybe one stat, they'll remember 2 stories, and they'll remember how they felt around you. That's about it. And so those 2 stories are very important. So that's why the stories also keep it simple. A lot of times there's so many, especially with the people I work with, they're very left brain and very logical. They tell every detail. That's not important. We're trying to, again, take people on an emotional journey. So you tell the challenge and then how you fixed it and how you felt. So that's kind of how we tell the stories. Get the outline done, then start rehearsing it. Rehearse it out loud. It doesn't matter if you know the content. If you don't do it out loud, you're not going to catch those things like what we said earlier, right? Or And then I know there's something
I don't want to say, right?
everyone's going to be saying that after this. Yeah, you'll start to see it a lot. I'm very sensitive to it because I'll tweet people and tell them, hey, do you want to stop using that word? Another thing that got extremely popular in the media in the last few years with podcasters is cussing and using the F word overdone. I think one of our top motivators in the country. There was basically they did a documentary on, you probably know who I'm talking about. Yes, and they did a documentary on this person and he used it a lot for emphasis. But what started happening was not used for emphasis anymore. It became boring and redundant. And it also hurts the ears of a lot of people. I have sat in audiences with my client who refused to not stop cussing and people walked out because of the cussing. It's not going to benefit anyone to cuss. So just cut it out of your presentation is my recommendation. There's a number 7 there. I can't see what it is.
Practice in front of the mirror and camera.
All right. So one of the things that speakers do, people like Les Brown, who is a phenomenal speaker, they actually choreograph their presentation. And so speaking in front of a mirror, if you're resonating with your cute facial expressions, or if you're bored, there have been times I'm staring at myself. I'm bored of myself. How is anyone else going to enjoy me when I am bored of myself? And so watching yourself do a little bit more extemporaneous fun or movement is good. And I do recommend for people who are pretty low key is to take acting lessons, because acting lessons can really enhance your personality. They push you to become other people. They push you to look at other personalities. And so while I'm working with somebody, I'll say, all right, now pretend you're a New York loud Italian. And now you're going to be quiet. So we want to bring out all those personalities. So being able to practice in the mirror and then ultimately on video is what you got to do.
Now, do you ever suggest people to do like improv?
Oh yeah, improv, acting. Yeah, absolutely. Improv is what I did years and years ago. And what improv gave to me was just the ability to look like a fool in front of people and still be accepted for it. So if I had already established credibility in the beginning and then went off and did a little bit of because women have sometimes spaghetti noodle brain and sometimes we go off on a tangent. And if you practice, you'll be able to come back. But I found out that we're still accepted when you give your heart and soul on stage. People are pulling for you. They don't want you to fail.
Yeah. They help. They could help.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see, your mission for your company, your brand, your vision, your mission purpose. What do you do? Who do you do it for? What are the benefits of working with you? I can go through the vision, mission, purpose quickly if we want to do that. I think it's important just because people want to know. It just helps narrow down. So the vision is really where you see yourself going, or where you see your company going.
I'm going to make some notes here. I'm going to type for people.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I put down a couple. It's your current and your future objectives, and it's your philosophy and your goals. So like I wrote down a couple. IKEA, their vision is to create a better everyday life for many people. Nike is they bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world, knowing that they don't yet, but their goal. So that's their goal in their future. McDonald's is to be the best quick service restaurant. So maybe they are not, maybe they're not, but it's always motivating the team to create action. So a vision, mission, purpose statement, these are important. Keep them clean and concise. Have a time frame on them when you want to achieve it so you can tighten up your goals. Make it future oriented. Be stable, be challenging, and be inspiring. So those are about how to kind of read these. The mission statement, again, it clarifies the what, the who, and the why of the company. It's action oriented. It's an action oriented vision statement declaring the purpose of the organization. And a couple of examples of a mission statement is a company, Life is Good. They're the ones with the cute t-shirts. To spread the power of optimism. That's their their mission. Sweet Green is a health company to inspire healthier communities by connecting people to real food. And lastly, Honest Tea, if you know them, they're a healthy tea company with really creative words on their bottles to create and promote great tasting, healthy, organic beverages. So that's the mission. And then the purpose, and and I think the mission, vision, and purpose changes over time as your business develop. Yeah. So the purpose describes the focus, the overarching reason why your company exists, and how it should conduct itself and impact on who it's serving. And the why should increase motivation. It should meet goals. It should establish your company loyalty and distinguish you from the competition. And so having those, and I used to work for a company that had an overall vision, mission, and purpose for the company. And then they asked each employee to do that as well. So that is really great for your company as your speaker, who you're impacting, how you're impacting, what are they going to get out of it? So so it helps you kind of also identify the type of person that you're working for and with.
Okay, perfect. Let's see. And so when people work with you, though, if you're working with a high-powered executive, now this is an assumption I'm making, of course, don't they come with their vision mission?
Never. Never.
Don't assume anything. Okay.
No, that's the thing. It's so interesting. And that's why it takes a long time to really get to know them. And a lot of the people that I work with are so busy that they know they want to do this. They've been talking about it for 20 years. They haven't ever done it. So having a regular meeting with me where I'm keeping the things moving forward. So I take them through that process. We look at who they are, who they want to impact. I just had the most amazing appointment with one of my people, and at midnight I was like going to bed, and all of a sudden it hit me, this brand for her, and it was like this amazing moment. I texted her in the middle of the night, and it was just the perfect thing. So when I'm working with somebody, it's fun. It's just such a great collaboration. So it does take time. It's not, no, they don't have, and they know kind of generally that they want to do it. Most of the people like to speak, but they don't really have that whole thing written. So it's not one of those that people are going to be like, oh my God, they were the most amazing speaker. They're like, they were good. So I take people from they were good to, oh my gosh, standing ovation.
And so one thing that you're pointing out, right? Listen, people, is you need to have your personal brand, right? Because the corporation's mission statement, the mission, values, purpose are there, or they should be there, right? But the personal brand about why are you doing this? Why are you supporting the company's mission? What is you're talking about personal vision, mission, purposes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that because it's so much what I stand for. You can be an employee of a company, but you have to have your personal brand. You have to define your own success. You have to know why you're waking up in the morning and what is your mission and what's your why. Why are you going to speak? Is it just because you want to tick a box? Is it for a vanity reason?
That's right.
People can smell that. They can see it. Like, what's your bigger reason for inspiring people, for getting up in the morning? So sounds like Mary can pull that out of you. She can help. Okay, let me go to the next slide here. We might have just gone through this, right?
Yeah, it's kind of more of the same. For purpose, for brand. So why do you exist? Why did you start your company? Who needed you and why? And who are your clients? And those kind of stories, like the ideal clients. And when you're able to tell that, I find that I resonate with that. What you just mentioned is so true. There are a lot of people that just want to speak. Like, I want to be on stage. I like speaking. And so they don't really have original content. There's nothing remarkable about them. And if we're fair, a lot of younger people want to be famous right now, just TikTok, and they don't really have a story necessarily, but they want to be famous. And so, but even with them, we could find something that was generally
that's so, and I try so hard to not be judgmental, right? When I see someone who's in their early 20s, they could have been through so many hard times. They can inspire so many people, but I see them say, and this is how I work with all my clients. And I'm thinking, girlfriend, you're 24 years old. Like, how many life experiences or life lessons? It depends on what you're doing, right? What are you training? What are you coaching? I can't be judgmental of it.
No,
But
and there are some amazing, amazing people that are young and brilliant and fabulous. And so I do think it's on an individual basis.
yes, for
And
sure.
so, yeah, I mean, if we look at so many, there's someone on the call today who is young and amazing, and I could not do what I'm doing right now without her. And so it doesn't matter the age. It really, I think, does matter the experience and the willingness to share what you've learned.
Yes.
And the willingness to continue to get better and to still learn. And one of the things that I would say to somebody young is that when all of us should be this way, we should have one hand up being pulled up by other people and one hand behind us pulling up other people.
Everybody up.
And so,
And kind of I'm referring to as well the people that are wanting to be the Instagram influencers and the, you know, the metrics and the gamers and
yeah.
They're good too. They're good too. They keep my kids really entertained.
Yeah.
Okay. So give a call to action and a reason for people to be in touch with you, right? During your speech.
Absolutely. That's at the end. And of course, if you're speaking for free and you're selling high ticket programs and you're inviting people to come and speak to you, that would be the call to action. If you're selling product, and many of us do sell health products or what have you, then to be able to say, hey, message me or go to my website and or tweet something. So a lot of people are doing things like that.
Yep. Okay. Your personality on stage.
Yeah, I love this again, because so many people want to get up on stage. And so again, we talked about this a little bit, is that don't just work on the content, also work on your delivery. That's all right. The dogs are great. We love them. So how to charm an audience is take people on that emotional journey. One of the people that I worked with was Dr. Jen Ashton, who I'm a big fan of. She's on ABC News every day. She's the medical correspondent. And she also she's a very, very attractive lady, and she's in shape and she's thin. And one of the things she wanted to tell ladies was, ladies, you need to be putting yourself first. Stop taking care of everybody else and not taking care of yourself. And she told me, she said, I just feel uncomfortable. I don't want these ladies to feel uncomfortable. I said, well, you're holding yourself back because you need to do that. That's what we need to hear. We need someone kicking us in the butt, And so she did it the very first time. She had never done it before. She didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but she went for it. And she said, ladies, and she got in their face. It was the first time she was ever mobbed by an audience.
Oh.
And so it was great because she spoke from the heart and
connected. Yes.
She did it from a way that was like, look, you've got to do this. Yeah. And so it was such a great story. So let's see, understand persuasion. We did that left brain and right brain. People justify on facts, buy off of emotions. So you need both. The master storytelling really takes practice. A lot of people give too many details and it's not as effective as it could be. At some point, most people have ADD. They say for the first time in 200 years, our brains have changed. And so it becomes boring. So practice, make sure somebody who's listening feels something. That's what you're looking for. All right. The next thing, know how to laugh at yourself. I told the story about Carrot Top, but I always like to say, remember back when you were 13, 14 years old, you were hanging out with your best friends, your cousins, your parents were in the front having their little party, and you're back there messing up and being silly. I want that personality on stage. And I've seen that with a lot of my speakers who are very left-brained, they're very logical, like Mark Kelly was one. He was a very serious person, and I detected a personality under that seriousness. And I said, you're funny. Oh my God, you're funny. And so we started inserting some jokes, and it really did make a big difference. So if you're not naturally funny, tell some jokes that are generally well received and you'll be okay.
Other than maybe a knock knock, but if that's all you got, we'll take it.
You could do better than that. All right. And then practice a lot in order to be comfortable. I have seen and memorize those first 2 minutes that you get up on stage. I've seen a lot of people who are very mechanical. When they talk on stage, they talk like this, they raise their voice. And so you want to get to the place where you're just hanging out. And so there should be that formal personality that shows up on stage and also that charming, light behind the scenes personality. So you want to practice that in your mirror in front of yourself to see, If I were to walk into a country club or go dine with a queen, does this personality fit? And now can I hang out with little children? Does that personality fit? So those are the wide variety of personalities that we want to see on stage. Visualize in advance. All right. So here's one of the techniques that I use a lot is before, and speakers that do speak a lot will go see the room the day before, the night before, and then they'll see themselves visualize on stage. One of the things that I've shared with people for years was to see yourself in front of an audience of 50,000 people at an arena and walk out on stage and deliver your presentation and have big body language and be excited and love the audience and see the audience responding very well to you. And when I do a visualization for people, they get very nervous because they're there in the moment. The more you do that, the first time I did that over and over and over, and then I went out on the college circuit, and the very first audience that I spoke to was 600 people. And so when I walked out on stage, they announced Mary Gardner. I walked out and I expected to be nervous. I'm like, this is a piece of cake. I've been in front of 50,000 people for the last, several months. And so it really does make an impact if you visualize it first. Here's another tip you'll never hear from anyone else. This is an original that I have created.
Unique value proposition right here. Let's hear it.
Yes. All right. So here it is. There's a book by Dr. Paul Pearson called The Heart Code. This is about energy medicine and energy work. And so one of the tips that he did, he was a cardiologist and he was going through radiology. He was going through cancer treatment. And he started realizing he was sending energy to the machine while he was going through cancer treatment. The radiologist said to him, "What are you doing? What are you doing? You're messing up the machine." But what ended up happening was that he created, he got healed twice as fast as anybody else by doing this energy. So it's the same thing with prayer. Prayer is a tangible thing. So when we think in positivity, it's the same thing. We're putting out positivity. So I've done this with speakers is a couple of things that some speakers do. They'll go before they speak and they'll touch every chair. So they have a energy exchange. But one of the things that I had, one of my speakers, she was so nervous. So she did a TED Talk and I said, go in front of the audience and just stand there when you get out there and give heart energy. So you drop from your head down to your heart, and you feel your heart, and now you send out that energy to everybody that's in the audience. So you connect with them only through this sense of well-being and a sense of positivity in your heart. You could have felt this room cut with a knife. It was so peaceful. It was amazing. And it made everybody had chills. It was unbelievable. So that's one of the tips that I share with people is use heart energy before you go up on stage to give everybody. Yeah. It's amazing. It totally, absolutely works. Okay. So I can't.
We're just about done. So
blah, blah, blah. That's all me. That's what I do.
Thanks.
So
I'll talk to you later. It's a wrap. No, just kidding.
Exactly.
So, yes, you're amazing. So I'm so happy that you're here. Who am I? Right. So you've worked in Capitol Hill. That's got to be that. There's stories there, right?
Yeah.
Top speaker agent, speakers in Washington, D.C., published it for best-selling authors, Wall Street, reporter, media spokesperson, 200 local. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Great stuff. Our branding kind of goes together too. It's
Yeah.
So you mentioned some of these people, just in case you guys don't know who these people are, you can see them here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then here's how you can get a hold of her. Let me drop that here in the show notes as well. We can do meetwithmarygardner.com. When should they hit that website, what are they going to see?
Yeah, it's just a form, and then they'll be able to get on my calendar, and they can find me on LinkedIn. It's Mary Gardner LinkedIn / Mary Gardner Communications, Winter Park, Florida.
Mm-hmm. Oops, I missed an R here. We don't want to send that out wrong. All right. So thank you so much. We got that out there. So I appreciate your time and energy and for being present with us today. If you guys have any questions, now you know how to get a hold of Mary. Mary, I think we might need to have you back for some sort of a workshop or something, because I know that everybody on here and a lot of the women in sales that I mentor and work with all need to be on stage. So they need some coaching from you. You're frozen. Are you there? Oh, there you are. You're back. Where'd you go? You were there for a second and then you disappeared. Can you hear me? No, you can't hear me. All right. So you guys, I can see Mary. She can't see me. We have some technical difficulties here. I'm going to wrap the show. Thank you so much for tuning in for the Art of Inspired Selling, where, as you just saw, I bring in some best practices and some subject matter experts to bring information to you to become the best version of yourself that you can. We will see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in.